Now that is a cracking choice of music, and that was chosen by my studio guest, Juan Christian, who's with us this afternoon. You've come all the way up from Castletown.
Port Erin.
Even Port Erin?
Yeah.
My word, that's a bit of a jaunt, isn't it?
Yeah, scary.
Yeah. Well, it's lovely to have you with us. We talked to you a few weeks ago on the show when I popped down to Compton Vaults to do a little bit of a chat, and it was about the mental health awareness gig that you did. Just tell us a little bit about how that went.
It went really well. Actually, the reason why I picked Help was a little bit to do with that, because when we associate that song with the Bananarama cover and it's all cheery and everything, but John Lennon actually said it's the most honest song he ever written at the time. He was actually asking for help, so that's kind of funny you said that, because I didn't even know. No, exactly. But the event went really well. Adam and Luke hung around all day. The bands hung around all day. We had a lot of people come in from Douglas and Port Erin, Castletown, and it was just lovely. It's just about getting the message out there that there are people there to help people regardless of what it is.
So true, and that did link really nicely. And Adam and Luke actually from the charity Reach, in case you don't know, they're actually the charity of the week on Late Lunch from tomorrow onwards, so do tune in, because it is Mental Health Awareness Week from tomorrow, so there'll be plenty on Manx Radio, and it's the Mental Health Minute tomorrow too, so do tune in for that one. But the Beatles also has a sort of family link for you, doesn't it?
Oh God, I think it's probably fair to say everyone in the northwest of Britain grew up on the Beatles, and a lot of my friends down in London, they're just that band, aren't they? They don't have one bloody bad song, do they? So
sorry if that offended anyone. I know it won't have done.
No,
it won't, but you have to say it.
But they don't have any bad songs. So,
yeah, that's true. I think you're absolutely right there. But it's a good one, that, because it's one of those, when I first, I've said this before on the show, I have to admit, when I'd just heard the singles like that, I wasn't that fussed about the Beatles. I know. But then, as I've said on the past before, someone then gave me the White Album and I understood.
Oh, it's my
From
favourite,
that point on, I just went, okay, I get it now.
Yeah.
And I absolutely blooming love them.
Yeah. and they're just that interesting when you... I'm sure, like, Jip always goes on about the social media. It's just Beatles. And they're just so interesting, the way that they purposely evolved. And, they're just... And they never lost any of their magic either. So, yeah.
If you were to have the chance of having any band from any era play at Compton Vaults, whether it be the Beatles or anyone else, who do you think that would be?
That's not a very nice question. You know what? I'd bring back my dad, and I'd have my dad play. That's what I'd do.
That is so wonderful. So tell
also,
us
probably
about
the Beatles.
Tell us, and the Beatles, yeah. Tell us about your dad and his music.
He was. I think he played when he was really young. The only other person in our family may have been his grandfather that played the fiddle, so there wasn't really that strong of connections other than that. But he just grew up in that era, wasn't it, where everything was fresh and new and exciting, a little bit rebellious, and I don't think they really had an awful lot else to do back then except play guitars and play the drums, and that's why there's still loads of them going. But there was loads of bands, in the 60s and 70s on the islands, and and some of them super talented, and he just had a phenomenal vinyl collection, which I actually have now, and it's all we did as kids. Even when you were a kid, you were out playing footy and you did whatever, but you'd come home and it was just there. Even my mum, there was always music in the house. My dad was funny. He'd watch the telly with headphones on and listen to his records and turn the telly down and just sit there in his armchair in front of the fire watching the telly but listening to music. I just thought, the man's a genius.
That's a real fan, isn't it?
Oh yeah, multitask. And he said men can't multitask. But,
And did he give you that sort of inspiration to want to then do music yourself?
When the music's probably there, you don't overly reach out to it, if that makes sense, because it's kind of normal. I started playing guitar. My dad had this lovely 1967 Sunburst Fender Stratocaster. It was absolutely a beautiful guitar. He ended up selling it in the end. So, damn it. But, and I just love touching it. We weren't allowed to touch it, so therefore you want to touch it more. And I can remember him teaching me like four chords, like C minor, A minor, and F, I think. I remember sitting in the bedroom playing them to death, and then just putting it down, not picking it up for about 4 years after that, because I thought, nailed that. But that's not the case at all, is it? And then, he was always very helpful when it came round to it. But then after that, it was Nirvana. Kurt Cobain kind of pushed me into music a little bit more, because I started getting back into it, and music got a little bit more exciting then, because the early 90s in Britain, unless you were a little bit older than I was, I think it wasn't really that exciting. It was E17 and Take That, and
Yeah.
Not to knock them, like, but you know.
I mean, yeah, but then you couldn't really folloh what they do. But you couldn't sort of
Exactly,
say,
yeah, you
I
can't.
want to do what they do, because it
No.
was more sort of processed music
plus
and
I'm a
produced
terrible
music.
dancer.
And
So, you know.
there's no such thing as a terrible dancer. As long as you do it with energy and enthusiasm, then you're brilliant.
Yeah.
You know,
maybe.
that's important.
Yeah, enthusiasm.
Well,
yeah.
you've chosen some fantastic tunes to play for us while we have a lovely chat this afternoon. We've got Water Boys now, Whole of the Moon. What is it you like about this, and is there a sort of story attached to this? Or
I can remember I was about 18, 19 when I really got into This Is the Sea, and at the time, I just felt it was something a little bit different to listen to. We talk about learning new music; that was new music to me. And Whole of the Moon was always on it was always on radios. It was a very well known song, and then you got Fisherman's Blues as well, which is on Week and Ned. It's like the opening credits, isn't it?
yeah.
So, and that album, it just, I don't know, just has some amazing, just sounds insane. That whole, this is just absolutely brilliant. And but Whole of the Moon, it's just I don't know, it's just supersonic. It's just a big record, and I love it. It's my funeral song. I know I mentioned that, just in case my sister's listening, so she can write that down.
Make
so
a note. We should all know what song we want to have played at our funeral.
We need to make sure there's no stress over that part of the funeral. It's all good.